Chapter 11 Waiting for Caroline. "I think," said Wally on the way home from school with his brothers that afternoon, "that the spider is about to capture the fly." "What spider?" asked Peter, skipping to keep up with his older brothers. Wally, Jake, and Josh exchanged looks. "What fly?" Peter demanded. "What I mean is, we're about to trap Caroline," Wally told him. "Don't tell Peter," Josh said. "He'll blab." "I won't." "You won't on purpose, Peter, but sometimes you let things slip," Jake told him. "I won't," Peter screeched, stopping there on the sidewalk with his fists clenched, eyes scrunched in fury. "Okay, but not one word to anybody," Wally warned. "I'll bet my last nickel that as soon as school is out, Caroline is going to Oedeker's bookstore and go down in that cellar where no one's looking." "Why?" asked Jake. "Because she asked me about the Abaguchi today. She said if there were Abaguchis around Buckman, somebody should have found some bones. And then it came to me. This idea, sort of." He grinned just a little. "Well," said Jake. "I told her there were some bones, that nobody knew what they belonged to, and that they were down in the cellar of Oedeker's bookstore. I just know she's going to go there today and sneak down in that cellar." "So?" said Jake. "Then what?" asked Josh. "So, then what? After all his brilliant work luring Caroline to the cellar, his brothers didn't know what to do." "What do you mean, then what?" squawked Wally, and he suddenly realized he didn't know either. He put his imagination on fast forward. "Then we'll all go in and stand on top of the trap door so she can't get out." "That's it," said Jake. "That's perfect. You're a genius, Wally." But Peter looked worried. "Not ever?" "Don't be dumb, Peter. Of course we'll let her out sometime. Just not right away, that's all," Josh told him. "So we can't let her out of sight for a minute," said Wally. "There she is, going over the bridge with her sisters. Maybe they'll all go down into Oedeker's cellar." "If they see us following them, though, they won't. What we've got to do is go stand inside the drugstore where we can watch the door of Oedeker's. And Peter, if you blab, you can't come with us," Josh told him. "I won't blab. I just think we ought to put some food down there or something." "Food?" said Wally. "In case they get hungry." "Peter, we're talking about 15 or 20 minutes. Anybody can go without food for 15 or 20 minutes. Peter looked much relieved. "Okay, then," he said. As soon as the boys put their school books on the table and grabbed a handful of cheese crackers, they were off again, heading toward the business district. A quick glance inside Oedeker's told them the girls weren't there yet, so they crowded into Larkin's pharmacy and went over to the window. Mr. Larkin, the pharmacist, looked up from his pills and bottles. "How you doing, boys?" "Okay," said Wally. They took positions just far enough back so they couldn't be easily seen, but close enough to the window so that Caroline and her sisters could not get into the bookstore unannounced. 4 o'clock became 4:30. The cashier glanced over at them. "Anything I can do for you?" she asked. No thanks," said Wally. "I'll bet she doesn't come," Jake whispered. "Maybe she had a piano lesson or something." "Yeah, who says that even if she comes it'll be today?" said Josh. Wally was getting a little peeved. "Well, just go on home then," he said hotly. "Just go on home and miss her if she does come. Oedeker's closes at 6. If she's not here by then, we'll leave." "What are we supposed to tell Mr. Larkin?" whispered Jake. "He keeps looking over at us." "So does the cashier." Wally looked around. The magazines were at the back of the store beside the prescription counter. The games were over by the soda fountain along one wall, one of the last soda fountains left in the state of West Virginia. Up here, beneath the front window, was a rack of women's socks and underwear. To his left was a shelf of ace bandages. Mr. Larkin was walking toward the front of the store. "You boys waiting on somebody?" he asked. "No, we're trying to decide what to buy," Wally said, because neither Jake nor Josh said a word, and Peter had wandered off to look for matchbox cars. "Maybe I can help you," said the pharmacist. Wally desperately focused on the women's socks and underwear and just as quickly turned his attention to the ace bandages. "I was sort of looking for a knee bandage," he said. "An elastic knee sleeve? For yourself?" "Well, let's measure you and see," Mr. Larkin said. Wally exchanged horrified looks with Josh and Jake. He didn't have any money with him, and even if he had, he wouldn't spend it on an elastic knee sleeve. It's not for me. It's for my dad, he said quickly. And then, because he knew Mr. Larkin would wonder why Dad wasn't buying it himself, he said, he hurt his knee so bad he can hardly walk. I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Larkin said. Why don't I call home and ask him to measure around his knee? And at that precise moment, Wally saw Caroline Malloy walking along the other side of the street toward Otaker's carrying a flashlight. I'll be right back, Mr. Larkin, he said. I'll go home and measure Dad's knee myself. And as soon as Caroline went inside the bookstore, the boys crossed the street and watched furtively through Otaker's store window.